When someone truly wants you, you won't be confused about it. Confusion doesn't come from love, it comes from inconsistency. It comes from mixed signals, half effort, and words that don't line up with behavior. A lot of people stay stuck in relationships because they keep trying to decode what's already clear. They say, maybe they're busy, maybe they're stressed, maybe they don't know how to show love. But here's the reality. People make time for what matters to them. They show up for what they value, and when you matter, you don't have to guess where you stand. Confusion keeps you emotionally exhausted. One day everything feels right, the next day you feel ignored. One moment you feel wanted, the next you feel invisible. That emotional roller coaster is not passion, it's instability. Love that's healthy creates emotional safety. You feel grounded, not anxious. You feel secure, not constantly worried about losing them. When your heart is always racing with doubt, that's not excitement, that's stress. Many people mistake inconsistency for depth. They think because the lows are low and the highs feel amazing, that must mean the connection is strong. But intensity is not intimacy. Chaos is not chemistry. A person who truly cares won't make you feel like you have to earn their attention over and over again. They won't disappear and reappear whenever it's convenient. They won't leave you questioning your worth or replaying conversations in your head, trying to figure out what you did wrong. Inconsistent people often give just enough to keep you hooked. A good morning text after days of silence. A sweet apology after disrespect. A promise after disappointment. And because you're emotionally invested, you cling to those small moments of affection, hoping they mean things are changing. But consistency is the real proof of love, not occasional effort. Anyone can show up when it's easy. Love shows itself when it's inconvenient, when it requires sacrifice, when it demands accountability. Confusion also happens when you listen more to potential than reality. You fall in love with who they could be instead of who they are right now. You hear their plans, their dreams, their intentions, and you ignore their actions. But intentions don't build relationships, behavior does. You can't build a future with promises that never turn into patterns. You can't feel secure with someone who only shows up when they feel like it. Another reason confusion hurts so deeply is because it slowly erodes your self-esteem. You start questioning yourself. You wonder if you're asking for too much, if you're too emotional, too needy, too sensitive. You shrink your needs to keep the peace. You lower your standards to keep the connection. And before you realize it, you're no longer being yourself. You're being who you think they'll tolerate. Love should never require you to abandon yourself. Clarity doesn't mean perfection. Every relationship has misunderstandings and disagreements. But clarity means you know where you stand. You know the person's intentions. You know their commitment level. You know they're choosing you, not keeping you as an option. Clarity brings peace even during conflict, because you're not questioning the foundation of the relationship. If someone truly values you, they won't be comfortable with you feeling uncertain. They will communicate. They will reassure. They will correct behavior when it hurts you. Inconsistent people often avoid clarity because clarity comes with responsibility. When things are vague, they can do whatever they want without being held accountable. And the longer you accept confusion, the longer you teach them that your needs don't matter. There's a difference between patience and self-betrayal. Being patient means giving someone space to grow while still honoring your boundaries. Self-betrayal is staying in a situation that consistently hurts you while calling it love. You don't have to beg someone to choose you. You don't have to chase someone who's unsure about you. The right connection won't drain you trying to prove your worth. When you stop tolerating confusion, your standards rise. You stop entertaining people who can't meet you with the same energy, honesty, and commitment you offer. And that's when your relationships start changing, not because people suddenly become better, but because you stop accepting less. Clarity is not too much to ask for. Consistency is not unreasonable. Wanting peace is not asking for perfection. It's asking for respect. Confusion is information. It's your intuition trying to protect you. It's your inner voice saying something is off. And the moment you start listening to it instead of silencing it, you regain your power. You stop settling. You stop chasing. You stop explaining your worth to people who refuse to see it. And you start choosing relationships that feel steady, intentional, and emotionally safe. Boundaries and standards are not just rules you make up to control other people. They are the foundation that protects your heart, your peace, and the kind of love you deserve. Too many people think they're asking for too much when they set expectations in a relationship. They think that saying, "I need respect," or "I need honesty," is being unreasonable, when in reality, it's being human. Boundaries tell others how you want to be treated. Standards show the level of love and effort you're willing to accept. Without them, you leave yourself open to inconsistency, manipulation, and disappointment. Boundaries and standards are not about punishment. They are about clarity. They are the invisible lines that help you separate love from chaos and commitment from convenience. When people don't have boundaries, they accept behavior that chips away at their dignity. They tolerate excuses, late texts, empty promises, and half-hearted gestures. And after a while, they start to believe that this is normal, that this is love, that this is what they deserve. But it isn't. Love does not consist of constant confusion, disrespect, or compromise of your values. Love is a safe space where two people show up consistently, communicate honestly, and honor each other's needs. If you don't set boundaries, you're teaching people that they can treat you however they want, and that's how mediocrity becomes the standard in your life. Standards are about self-respect. If you want to be valued, you must first value yourself enough to refuse what doesn't serve you. People who know their worth don't chase attention from someone who gives it sparingly. They don't beg for love from someone who offers it occasionally. They don't compromise integrity for the sake of keeping someone around. Standards create self-awareness. They force you to see whether a person's actions align with their words. Without them, you can get lost in hope, wishful thinking, or nostalgia for moments that were never consistent to begin with. Standards keep you anchored, even when emotions are loud and uncertainty tries to pull you into chaos. Boundaries also protect emotional energy. Every time you tolerate disrespect, overstep your comfort zone, or ignore red flags, you're spending emotional currency that can't be replaced. People who constantly overextend themselves for someone else's inconsistency eventually run out of patience, empathy, and love. Boundaries act as a safeguard. They tell the other person, "I can be loving, supportive, and committed, but I will not allow actions that hurt me to continue." And when boundaries are clear, people either step up or step aside, leaving room for genuine love and commitment. Many people confuse compromise with boundaries. Compromise is healthy when it's mutual and respectful, but it's unhealthy when it means lowering your standards just to please someone else. Boundaries are not negotiable. They are statements of self-worth. You do not sacrifice integrity to avoid conflict. You do not tolerate poor treatment because you fear loneliness. Boundaries keep your relationship from becoming a trap where one person dominates and the other sacrifices their needs just to survive. They set the tone for mutual respect, accountability, and shared responsibility in love. Boundaries and standards are also about teaching. You cannot expect someone to know what you will or will not tolerate if you don't tell them. You cannot expect love to appear automatically when you haven't communicated your limits. Setting a boundary is an act of leadership in your own life. It tells people, "This is who I am, this is what I deserve, and this is how I expect to be treated." And anyone who respects that boundary is showing the maturity and integrity that make them worthy of your presence. Anyone who disregards it is revealing who they really are, and that clarity is better than confusion or false hope. Without boundaries, relationships often become exhausting. One person gives too much, the other takes too freely. One person compromises constantly, the other acts carelessly. One person seeks clarity, the other thrives in ambiguity. And over time, resentment builds, attraction fades, and frustration grows. Boundaries and standards prevent this imbalance. They create fairness, accountability, and structure, turning relationships from chaos into stability. They allow love to flourish without fear because each person knows the expectations and the consequences of disregarding them. Boundaries also protect your growth. Love should complement your life, not stunt it. When you set standards, you make room for personal development. You refuse to be slowed down by someone who is unwilling or unable to match your commitment to growth. You ensure that the energy you invest in love produces mutual benefit, not imbalance or regression. Standards align your relationships with your goals, values, and vision for life. Without them, you risk being pulled into a pattern where emotional labor is one-sided and your dreams are sidelined. Another important aspect is that boundaries teach emotional responsibility. You cannot control someone else, but you can control how you respond. You cannot fix someone's shortcomings, but you can refuse to accept them as your burden. You cannot manufacture love or consistency in someone who doesn't have it to give, but you can protect yourself from being drained by it. Boundaries make it clear that love is not about manipulation, guilt, or obligation. It is about respect, intention, and accountability. Boundaries and standards also create trust. When someone knows your limits and still chooses to meet them, trust deepens. When a partner sees that you value yourself and won't tolerate disrespect, they are more likely to value you, honor your needs, and step into the relationship fully. Lack of boundaries often leads to mistrust, because people start hiding their true feelings or taking liberties they shouldn't. Boundaries provide clarity, which is the soil where trust grows. Finally, standards and boundaries empower you to leave without regret. You can walk away from toxic, inconsistent, or unhealthy relationships without guilt because you are not abandoning someone arbitrarily. You are protecting your own well-being. You are choosing clarity over confusion, respect over chaos, and intentional love over settling. And when you do that, you open the door for relationships that are aligned with your values, desires, and emotional needs. Love that is unfiltered, intentional, and real will only come when you refuse to compromise on what truly matters.